Hello and welcome to our video for today. And today's video is the second one to talk about the subjunctive. So the subjunctive can be kind of a complex area, but the easiest way to do it is to break it down into different sections, and like that it's not too difficult. So if you haven't seen the first subjunctive video, Subjunctive 1, or seen the blog, it's probably a good idea to have a look at that first, because this kind of relies on some certain knowledge of the subjunctive already. We'll do some revision. So in this video we're going to look at some verbs that we use the subjunctive with. And we're also going to look at some other persons, other forms of the subjunctive. So the first time we looked at it, we looked at expresiones impersonales, impersonal expressions. For example, es importante que estudies mucho. Es necesario que ella vaya al hospital. Es probable que gane Barcelona. So the verbs in red are the subjunctive. After the impersonal expressions and que, we use the subjunctive. So let's revise a little bit quickly how we make it. So the last one we had was es probable que gane Barcelona. Ganar is an AOR verb, so the endings are E's. The AOR changes to E. They're the endings here. So let's just look at how it works. We take the first person of the present tense, take off the O and put on an E. Marco quiere que yo gane. Marco quiere que tú ganes. Marco quiere que ella gane. Marco quiere que ganemos. Marco quiere que ganéis. Marco quiere que ellos ganen. So you can see here we're using the verb querer, and this is one of the things we're going to be looking at today. Some verbs require the subjunctive to follow them after que, and querer is one of them. So querer, of course, just to remind you, it means to want. So Marco quiere que yo gane. Marco wants me to win. In English, we don't need the that. In Spanish, we have to use the que after querer. So let's just repeat with the same example. An EOR verb. So as you can see, the EOR changes to A. Como, coma. Take the first person in the present tense, take off the O, use the A. For example, Marco quiere que yo coma. Marco quiere que tú comas. Él coma, nosotros comamos, comáis, y coman. So in the first video we only looked at the first three persons, coma, comas, coma. Now we're adding comamos, comáis, and coman. But there's nothing different here. These are the predictable endings. We just use the A with the usual endings for each person. Abrir has the same endings as comer. EOR and IOR, again, same endings. So Marco quiere que yo abra, tú abras, ella abra, nosotros abramos, vosotros abráis, ellos abran. So that's how it works with the regular verbs. Let's revise some of the radical changing verbs. So AOR and EOR, they follow the same pattern as in the present tense. Again, you have to know the present tense before you can really effectively do the subjunctive, the present subjunctive. So again, there's a video and a blog on the present tense and the irregular verbs, radical changing verbs. You have to know those before you can do the subjunctives. So as always, volver. Let's take volver, to return. Vuelvo is the first person. It's a radical changing verb. The O changes to UE. So the subjunctive is vuelva because it's an EOR verb. Marco quiere que yo vuelva. Que tú vuelvas. Él vuelva. So far, so predictable. But like in the present tense, the radical changing verb nosotros. Marco quiere que nosotros volvamos. Vosotros volváis. Back to ellos vuelven. So in the nosotros and the vosotros form, The subjunctive doesn't have the UE, it has the O. Exactly like in the present tense. Same with an ER verb. And a verb that changes from E to IE. Perder. Perder, pierdo is the first person, becomes pierda in the subjunctive. So then it's Marco quiere que yo pierda, que tú pierdas, ella pierda. Again, nosotros perdamos, vosotros perdáis, we lose the IE. And it becomes just the E again. And back to pierdan again. So just this takes a little bit of practice. We'll do some practice later on. The IR verbs, the radical changing IR verbs are a little different. But we won't look at it now because we're looking at enough. So we'll look at that in future videos. So let's look at the irregular verbs. The irregular verbs that tend to be irregular in the first person. So tener, tengo is the first person. It changes to tenga in the subjunctive. So how do the others change? Vengo, venga. Conozco. So we just change it to conozca. Pongo, ponga, etc. Decir, digo, diga. Oír, oigo, oiga. So it's the same pattern all the time. We take the first person, take off the O, and add the endings. And the completely irregular verbs. Marco quiere que yo vaya. So vaya is the verb ir. Marco wants me to go. Quiere que yo vaya. So ir becomes vaya. Let's have a look at some others, see if we can remember them. So ser becomes sea. Haber becomes, can you remember it from the first video? Haya. Ir we just looked at. Vaya. I've given you the first couple of letters. Saber, sepa. Dar, de. And estar, este. So it's the same thing again. Sea, 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 seamos, seais, sean. The pattern continues right through all the different persons. So let's do a little bit of practice. And we're going to practice with verbs of influence or desire. So this is another section or another time where we use the subjunctive. Now there are lots of these verbs. We're going to concentrate on 4 today, just so we can keep things fairly simple. So these are verbs where you want something to happen. You want somebody to do something, or you wish for something to happen, or you ask somebody to do something. So we have pedir, to ask. Recomendar, to recommend. Querer, to want. Esperar, to hope. So let's look at some examples. Marco quiere que yo gane. Mark wants me to win. Yo te recomiendo que visites París. I recommend you visit Paris. Ella espera que venga el autobús. She hopes that the bus comes. Sara pide a Marta que lave los platos. Sarah asks Marta to wash the plates, wash the dishes. So you have to do this in Spanish. In English we can say, I want you to help me. She wants her to do this. But in Spanish you have to use the que after these verbs. It's part of the pattern. So this is how we do it. It's the verb plus que plus the subjunctive. Let's look at some examples. Recomiendo que tú fruta. So that's easy enough, isn't it? It's not too difficult. If we know, we just put the comer into the subjunctive. Comas. The ER changes to a. The tú takes an S. After recomiendo, we have to have the subjunctive. Ella quiere que nosotros mucho dinero. So tener, first person tengo. The O changes to a in the subjunctive. And the nosotros, tengamos. That's all we do. Follow the pattern. Yo te pido que, menos ruido. We have to use hacer. Hacer, what's the first person? Hago. Hago changes to, in the subjunctive, haga. And if it's tú, it's hagas. And one or two more examples. Julio espera que Madrid. So ganar, regular verb. We use the third person. The AR changes to y. Espera que Madrid gane. And the last example. We're going to do a nosotros. Ellos quieren que. Now, take your time with this one. It's a little trickier. It's a radical changing verb, but the nosotros, we don't use the change. Y or changes to a. Perdamos. Okay, let's do some practice. I hope you're all right. So, ¿cómo se dice? I hope. Espero que. There's no that in English, but we have to use the que in Spanish. Espero que. We can put in the tú. Let's put in tú. So, after I hope that, espero que, we have to have the subjunctive. Estar changes to estés. Espero que tú estés bien. O que estés bien. I'm going to give you some more for practice. The answers will be in the blog. He wants her to leave. ¿Cómo se dice en español? He wants her to leave. Again, check the blog. The answers will be there. She recommends that they drink green tea. Should be. She recommends that they drink green tea. ¿Cómo se dice en español? I ask you to prepare dinner. ¿Cómo se dice en español? We're just using the same verbs we've used. Try this out. Check the blog for the answers. Also do the Quizlet. There'll be more exercises there. So if you need any practice, there's lots of practice there. Thanks for watching. See you soon.